Hello, everyone. It looks like folks are on. My name is Allison Hayrand. I'm Congressman McAdams. Both are the campaign communications director, and we wanted to thank you for joining us today. The congressman will have a brief statement that he'll make, and then he has time for a few questions. So, Congressman, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Let me just start by saying I am honored to have served Utahns in the state legislature, as the mayor of Salt Lake County, and in Congress. I have done my best to thoughtfully and independently serve every citizen, regardless of their political party or where they reside. I'm very proud of the service that I and my office have provided, and I'm proud of all that's been accomplished over the past 12 years of public service for Utahns. Today, I called Burgess Owens to congratulate him on winning this hard-fought and close race. My campaign was centered around a rejection of extremism and the need for leaders who will put the needs of the people they represent before any political party. I'm deeply humbled by the support I received from so many Utahns who share that vision and want them to know that while we did not prevail, I remain committed to that ideal. I will continue working hard until the new Congress is sworn in, and I will do my part to ensure a smooth transition. And I commit to doing everything I can to making sure that Burgess Owens has what he needs to succeed for the benefit of Utahns. I will continue to be a voice for hardworking Utah families, and I will work diligently to keep. Sorry, let me back up a sentence. I will work hard to be a voice for hardworking Utah families, and I will continue to work to build coalitions and to heal our country in whatever capacity I may serve. I love this country. I love the fact that both the great-grandson of a slave and the son of a single mother elementary school teacher can run for office in this great country. Neither of us comes from money or power. We have differences in political philosophy and how we approach public service, but we both love our country. With the election behind us, I see a need to come together and to bridge our divides. I worry that extreme elements of both political parties interfere with our ability to find agreement on issues that matter to hardworking families. I fear deliberate misinformation is too often unchecked and seen as truth in our society. This is a time for all of us to be engaged in civic affairs and to sort fact from fiction the best we can. My faith and my upbringing taught me to do what's right, even if it's difficult or unpopular. I've been criticized by the left for my moderate positions and for opposing Nancy Pelosi, and by the right for holding President Trump accountable for his wrongdoing. But I've always tried to put principle ahead of politics and put Utah first for the good of our families, for the good of our state, and for our country. Despite the outcome of this election, I am blessed. I have a loving and supportive wife and a beautiful family. I live in the greatest state and country in the world. And I have met and been inspired by so many incredible Utahns who are making a difference in their community. The best part of this job for me has been listening to the ideas and concerns of so many and doing my best to support and to help them. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Congressman. We have a few questions waiting if you're willing to take those now. Let's see, we have Glenn Mills from ABC4.
Hey, Representative. I wanted to talk to you real quick about turnout. In 2018, if we take a look at the numbers from 2020, we didn't see the same turnout from the precincts that helped carry you in 2018. So my question to you is, what's your analysis on where those Democratic voters were this time around? And was that, as we have been thinking, directly tied to those initiatives in 2018 that were a very heavy draw?
Well, largely I'm going to leave that to the political scientists to answer, but what we saw is actually turnout was up across the board. And it was just in a district that is 14% Democrat. When turnout goes up by 30%, those numbers are daunting. So what we saw was, I have some numbers here. So we saw incredible turnout with more than 370,000 votes were cast in the 4th district. To put that in perspective, in 2016 and 2018, when we saw record-breaking turnout, that turnout was 230,000 in both elections. This year, we saw turnout of 370,000. And we also saw that I actually improved my performance in nearly every city in the district over what I did in 2018. But at the end of the day, we actually got more crossover vote this time than we got last time as a percentage. But at the end of the day, the numbers were just too big. So I think that's the issue. If you look at turnout was up, but this district, the Cook report ranks this district as R+20. And so, those numbers are daunting. And I think my message did resonate of somebody who's willing to bring people together and to work across the aisle. And we saw the district respond, and more voters were crossing over. But we had more work to do to get our message out to those voters who haven't voted in previous elections.
But the way I look at the precincts that really carried you in 2018, it seems that they did not come out the same way this year. Is that not what you're seeing?
I don't think that's what we're seeing. But if you look at, and you can talk to my campaign manager who's crunching all the data, but what we're seeing is my performance as a percentage of the vote went up in every city throughout the district. And it's just that the district is R+20. And so that increase just simply wasn't enough, but it was still, as it was 2 years ago, one of the closest races in the country. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Congressman. I'm wondering if you could talk about what this means for Democrats getting elected to Congress from Utah in the future. It was a tough race last time. You won by less than 700 votes. A tough race again, and we're facing redistricting. Is this going to make Republicans in the Utah legislature more likely to protect that district for a sitting Republican congressman, and thus make it much harder for another Democrat to represent the state?
Well, first of all, I would say this district doesn't belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, and I resist calling it a Democratic district or Republican district. It's a Utah district, and whoever occupies this seat should be working for the good of Utahns. I also have said for a long time that I think politicians have no business choosing their voters. It's voters who choose who they want to have represent them. So, I continue to hope that when the voters spoke out 2 years ago and said they wanted an independent process that was not driven by elected officials who would structure the lines in a way that would benefit one party or another, that we make this an independent process and we let the public draw boundaries that make sense and let voters then choose who they want to represent them.
And what's the likelihood you would run again? What do you see your future as at this point?
I think it's too soon for me to think about that. At this point, this was a hard-fought campaign, and Burgess Owens is now going to have an opportunity to serve Utahns. And what I'm going to do over the course of this transition is to make sure he has the support that he needs, that we can set him up to be successful, because that's what the people of Utah deserve. But I should just add, I'm in DC right now. You might, it's not your typical election night speech, but I'm in DC. We are here all this week for votes now through the end of the year. Well, I won't be here through the end of the year, but we have about 3 weeks of legislative business between now and the end of the year. So I flew in today, and we'll be here all week.
Congressman, can I ask a question? This is Dan Harry from the Tribune. Do you think that your vote for impeachment of the president played a role in the result here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say. I know that we worked hard and this was such a close race, but I've always said that I need to make the right decision that is both in accordance with my conscience and do the best that I can to listen and to represent my district. And so, you know, it's for me, public service is about doing what I believe is right, and following my conscience, and then letting the voters decide, you know, if that's something that they support.
What does your gut tell you? Did that hurt you in the election?
I don't know. I think you know, I would come back to again. I am the most independent member of Utah's congressional delegation, and the number 2 most independent in the entire Congress, and somebody who always puts Utah first. And in that case, what I said a year ago, and I'll say it again today, that what the president did was wrong. I lamented, and I continue to lament, I think, the partisan nature in which the Democrats proceeded during that process. But at the end of the day, I wasn't a part of that process, but I was tasked with casting a vote on behalf of Utah's 4th congressional district. And what the president did was wrong, and he needed to be held accountable for his actions that I think weakened our country and jeopardized our national security.
Are there any other questions for the congressman?
Hi,
Congress,
this is,
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I've already had a chance.
this is Aaron Navarro. I cover the House races for CBS News. Now that you kind of have a result now, what are your thoughts on kind of this infighting that's been playing out in your caucus in the past week between the more moderate and the more far left AOC type wing of the party? Do you think, you know, the attacks about socialism or defund the police played a role at all in your own race? I think you're muted, sorry.
I get a do-over. Thank you. Look, as a former mayor and somebody who's been in public service for about 10 years, I think people know me. People know that I'm a centrist, that I'm a capitalist, that I believe in free market principles, and I am not part of the far left extreme of the Democratic Party that talks about socialism. And I repeatedly called that out because I believe not only are those make for bad politics, I think it's bad policy. And so I always held my ground as far as what I believe and what I support. But if you look at the message that was coming from my opponent, that was the message. And I think, look, if the Democratic Party wants to be successful in the future, they have to represent the viewpoints that most Americans, including myself, think would be the best direction to take this country forward and to solve the challenges that we're facing, whether it's healthcare and protecting Social Security, but doing it in a fiscally responsible way. I and my district care about not saddling future generations with excessive debt and deficits as far as the eye can see, and I think they need a new message. And and we know what I know because I represent this district. I'm not gonna. Nobody can tell me what my constituents want to see and hear. I know because I every day am listening to them and talking to them, and I know what they care about. And I think the left wing of the Democratic Party needs to do a little bit more listening to those who represent districts like mine, if they're serious about setting an agenda and moving this country forward.
Thank you. Just to follow up, do you think, obviously campaigns stayed inside because of the pandemic to keep things safe, but do you think that might have played a role, just the lack of a door-to-door type knocking operation?
For us, I don't think it did. We contacted by telephone and text message almost 500,000 people. And those contacts were quality and meaningful. So we feel that we were able to, both be responsible. For me, it was important. I know my opponent was out knocking doors. For me, it was important that I do everything I can. I had COVID early on, and I know how serious this virus can be. And I wasn't willing to put the health and safety of people in Utah in jeopardy for the sake of a political campaign. So I felt that we could get our message out there through digital means, through text messaging, phone calling, Zoom, and other electronic means, and we could reach out to people that way. And we did, and I think we were pretty successful at it. And the numbers of people who we contacted, I think, were incredibly significant. And the fact that this is an R+20 district that is within 0.5% is speaks for itself.
Got it. Thank you, Congressman.
If I could just follow up, Congressman, on what was just asked and your answer about the district and knowing the district voters, that they want that centrist, moderate voice. So do you see this less as a rejection of how you behaved as a congressman, how you voted, how you dealt with issues, and more of a rejection of the Democratic Party as a whole? Because you say you ran the kind of campaign you know your constituents want, and you conducted yourself in Congress the way you feel that your constituents wanted. Your opponent, as you pointed out, was very critical of Democrats, calling them socialists and Marxists and sociopaths. Is that really the message that Utahns believe, or are they so concerned about the direction of the Democratic Party nationally that you were rejected despite not being part of that message?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, in a district, you're gonna find people of every point of view along the political spectrum, right? So we recognize that, and there are differences of opinion, and I always work to try and listen to people across that spectrum and to unify and to reflect them. But I do think, what I heard time and again as I was talking to constituents was, my campaign had me focusing on those voters who we had identified as undecided, and that's who I was reaching out to. And they said, we love you, we appreciate the work you're doing, we know you are a centrist, but we are concerned about the direction of the Democratic Party. And I think that would be my message to the National Democratic Party is we need a centrist, free market approaches to solving our greatest challenges, and if we want to win districts like mine. But I do think a majority of my constituents want a reasonable bridge builder who's going to work to heal our country, and I heard it time and again in my conversations with voters. And look at how close this race was again. One of the closest races in the country. It's an R+20 district that. Sorry, I got a phone call. There we go. R+20 district that came within 0.5%. That's Kurt Bramble. He's not giving up. He keeps calling me. Okay.
This is Taylor Stevens from the Salt Lake Tribune. You mentioned extremism in your statement. Just wondering if you're concerned about what you've seen from your opponent as far as his appearances on programs affiliated with QAnon and the like, and do you have a message for your opponent on that front?
My message was to both Republicans and Democrats, extreme elements in both political parties, that now is a time to come together. And so my hope for Burgess Owens is that he will work to heal our country, to recognize that there are people across the political spectrum who love this country. And we have different political philosophies, but we all love this country. And the only way we are going to heal and to rise to the challenges that we're facing as a country right now is if we come together. If we recognize that differences of opinions are one thing, but we are united in our goals. Sorry, there he goes again. we're united in our goals, and we need to come together to solve our challenges. Let me elaborate on that. I don't want to be, it's not my place at this point, I think, to be telling Burgess Owens how to be a member of Congress. I want to give him the space to do the job that he feels that he can do. My hope would be that while we may have differences of opinion, so much of this job is rolling up your sleeves and working for the veteran who was denied a Purple Heart but deserves it, the senior who didn't get their Social Security benefits, the mother who's worried about her child's pre-existing condition and how they're going to continue to receive health care. That we're going to disagree about some of political ideologies, but he has my support, and I hope that he will recognize the importance of just rolling up your sleeves and the job of working for constituents. And for that, I offer him my support, and my team stands ready to help with that transition so that it's a seamless transition, so that no cases fall through the cracks and that people are able to continue to get the help that they need.
Congresista.
Sí. Hola.
Hola, un placer saludarlo. Gracias por este tiempo que nos da. Ben, antes de llegar a congresos, había una manera de pensamiento de cómo ibas a encontrar el Congreso. Una vez ya has experimentado ser un congresista en Washington, D.C., ¿ha cambiado el pensamiento de cómo está Washington? ¿Sigue un Congreso dividido, una nación dividida, ahora que el presidente ha terminado o está a punto de tener su tiempo? ¿Cuál es el mensaje a los residentes de Utah del estado actual de Washington, D.C.? ¿Hay esperanza? ¿Se puede ver una unión? ¿Y qué es lo que has aprendido de tu servicio en el Congreso?
Bueno, en verdad, Washington, D.C. es muy dividido. Y hay mucho... everybody's calling me. Hay mucho a hacer para unir este país. Y necesitamos representantes republicanos y demócratas que quieren ayudar a curar, a unir este país. Y en tanto estoy preocupado porque Washington es tan dividido, también soy muy optimista porque conozco muchas personas, muchos representantes que quieren trabajar juntos, republicanos y demócratas que quieren trabajar juntos para avanzar las soluciones que nuestro país necesita. Entonces, es verdad que Washington, así como el país entero, es muy dividido. Hay muchas personas que quieren trabajar para nos unir. Y yo tengo esperanza que vamos, como un país, vamos a nos unir y vamos a alcanzar y superar los desafíos que estamos enfrentando hoy.
Muchas gracias.
I think we have time for one more question, and then I know Congressman has to get over to the Hill for votes. So do we have one final question?
I have another one if I could. Representative, have you thought about what's next for you?
I haven't. Right now, honestly, there's a lot of work to do as we work through this transition. We have stuff we still want to accomplish over the next 6 weeks as far as people who have come to our office seeking help, and we're trying to get as much done as we can before the transition as far as that casework that we do. And so my priority is on working hard through the end. And then I'm working right now. Look, I'm biased, but I think we have assembled the most amazing team in all of Washington. And Utah has been well served by them. So my focus is going to be working hard to the end and then working to support the people who have supported me for so long to make sure they land on their feet.